Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Lauren Rose Musto, and I'm the founder of Corporate 2 Consultants. So I just want you to know I've been in your shoes before, wondering if there's any way to take my professional expertise and make it on my own on the consulting side. And I am happy to share with you that, yes, in fact, you can make your career a remote one, and you can work fewer hours making the same or more money than you did in the corporate setting. So today, I'm super excited to share with you 4 secrets you must know in order to turn your professional expertise into a six-figure consulting business. Now, I personally don't like a ton of fluff when it comes to these online presentations, so I'm just going to dive right in, and you're not going to see, a bunch of, the stories, and I'm not just going to say extra words for the sake of saying them. I'm not going to keep you on here for an hour when I could do this presentation in 30 minutes or less. So that's my promise to you. It's going to be short. It's going to be sweet. And without further ado, let's dive on in. Okay, so first and foremost, I think it's super important that we take a look at the consulting and remote work landscape in general. So I'm recording this presentation on April 9th, 2020. And so we're literally right in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, depending on when you're watching this, the entire experience could be fresh in your mind, or a little time may have passed and we're kind of getting back to a new normal at this juncture. Now, personally, I'm in prediction mode a little bit because, again, it's April 2020 and we're still in the thick of this thing. But I think the working world is going to change. I think companies are going to be more open now more than ever to remote work scenarios. I think they're going to be more open to consulting services and more open to unique arrangements that allow them to have the best people, regardless of where they are physically located, working on their businesses and the problems they have at hand. I don't think we'll ever see a 100% remote work economy. Well, at least not in the imminent near future. But I do think we're going to see trend data showing more remote employees and remote contractors and consultants as we move forward. Now, as far as the data go and where we are now versus historically speaking, with the remote work scenario, let's take a quick look at the 30,000 foot view. So in 2018, 57 million people were freelance or independent consultants. And it is 2018. I know there's a typo there on the slide, but it's 2018. And those 57 million people, guys, they account for roughly 35% of the US workforce. And that's an increase from 54 million freelance consultants just a year prior. And really the big stat that we need to recognize here is that those consultants, they earned nearly $1 trillion of income in 2018 alone. Now, more people are looking to remote work options as a way to improve flexibility and work-life balance. And quite frankly, more companies are looking to the remote workforce arrangements to keep productivity up and costs down. So given the historical data and the recent COVID pandemic, I personally do not see remote work opportunities going away at any point in the near future. And in fact, I see this as a huge boom that is coming and now being a really opportune time to determine your place in it. I do think it's safe to say that now more than ever, we are primed for a remote workforce, a landscape of highly specialized and highly effective consultants who can help more companies fulfill their missions. So now, super quick, before we go any further, who am I to be talking to you about this today? Well, so for starters, as I mentioned earlier, my name is Lauren Musto. I had a 15-year career in corporate communications in the biotech and pharma industry before transitioning to consulting. And if I'm being really honest with you and with myself, I wanted to transition after about 8 years, but I couldn't and I didn't. And I was literally frozen with fear and indecision. I asked questions like, well, what about my 401k? And what about health insurance? And where am I going to find clients? And all those types of questions. And at the time, I wasn't a mom yet. My 2 kids weren't in the picture, but they were on the radar as a hopefully Sunday. And I couldn't wrap my head around how I'd still make my 6-figure income without a company. How could I have maternity leave without an employer to give it to me? Now, don't get me wrong, these were all really good questions, but I used them as excuses to stay in my fear instead of searching for answers and finding a solution. And I didn't actually leave the corporate world until I was forced into the situation due to circumstance. It was literally sink or swim time for me. And thankfully, I swam, but it was a lot more like a 4-year-old's doggy paddle versus the grace and power you might see with Michael Phelps. I turned it out, I made it work, but let's just say I wasn't breaking any world records or, winning what, 21 Olympic medals. You know, I did do quite a few things wrong when I started. And again, in part, that was due to desperation and lack of time and the ability to set myself up properly. And it was hard at first because I was in a situation where we needed my income. We needed to pay the mortgage. And, my kids, God love them, they really, really, really like to eat. And then, when I looked back, I could see that this process could have been so much smoother for people if someone could show them the best way to do it, to set yourself up for success from the get-go so that you don't have to struggle and go back to getting, that dreaded 3-letter word, a job. So I decided at that juncture to take my life coaching certification and refine my specialty and really help people go from corporate to consultant. And so here we are. Okay, but enough about me. Let's talk about you. You want to take the leap and get into consulting, but perhaps also like me, you're making a good income and you aren't prepared to just completely walk away from that without knowing your income can follow you. And trust me, I get it, right? Kids, houses, spouses, dogs. We lose a little bit of our ability to be completely free spirits when these types of responsibilities are layered into our lives. But thankfully, that doesn't have to prevent us from following our dreams and setting ourselves up for success working from home. Now, there are 4 key steps, or really secrets, you must take in order to successfully make the transition from corporate to consultant. And I'm going to walk those through with you all in a moment in more detail, but at a high level here, they are now. So number 1, clarify your zone of genius and where you provide the most value. Second, you want to identify your ideal client and your offer. Third, we want to amplify your marketing message. And fourth, we want to simplify your strategy for building this business while working your corporate job. So there you have it, the 4 key steps or secrets: clarify, identify, amplify, and simplify. And now I want to walk you through each of these in a little bit more detail. Okay, so step 1 is clarify. But you might be asking, what exactly are we clarifying, right? You might be thinking, I already have my area of expertise. I've been working in this area for 5, 10, 20 plus years. That's what I do, and this is what I'll consult in. And my response to that is really yes, but no. You want to become super specific in what you offer to start. So a mentor and coach of mine, Helen Pritchard, she has this amazing way to showcase this. And I want to share it with you because I think it just so eloquently describes what you need to do. And she calls this your value, joy, profit triangle. So you want to first look at your expertise. Now, within all the things that you can do, where do you provide the most value? Where do you really, really shine? That's where you give the most value and have the opportunity to make the most impact. Next, you want to look at where you get the most joy out of the work that you do. What do you love to do? What part of your job now or jobs you've had in the past that if all you did was this one piece of it, you would be elated to work each day? And finally, we want to look at where you can make the most profit. What parts of your job are specialized to the extent that businesses need that support and you can also charge a premium? And where those 3 things intersect is where you start. That guys, that's your clarity point. Value, joy, profit. That's what I like to call your zone of genius. And okay, so as an example, let's take me. I had a 15-year corporate communications career in healthcare, and I've done pretty much everything from product communications to internal comms, executive, media relations, and on and on. I'm not going to bore you with a breakdown of communications, but there was one area that I was really, really good at. I loved to do it, and I could charge a premium for it. And that was change management and employee engagement. And so when I finally realized I needed to be specializing and targeting my abilities to be specialized, that's where I honed in on. I specifically helped companies communicate major changes within their organizations, such as a CEO transition. And I worked really hard to keep employees updated and engaged during those times so as not to cause a spike in turnover. Do you see how that's different than just corporate communications or even biotech communications? Right? Okay. So, one thing though, to be clear, this doesn't have to be the only thing you offer, but it does get us very specific and targeted in our marketing. What it does is it gets you in the door. And then when your client needs help with something else, you're able to say, no, oh gosh, I can totally help you with that. And you can layer on services and become a more holistic provider for them if you want to. Does that make sense, guys? Okay, great. So now moving on to step two is identify. And here is where we are going to identify two very important components of our consulting services. First, we want to identify who it is we want to work for. And again, specializing is the name of the game here. Rather than helping anyone and everyone, you want to be specific in who you do your consulting work for. Now, as a reminder, you can serve more than just this one type of company, but you want to be targeted in your marketing and speak to one specific audience. So, for example, let's say you're a finance expert and you're going to provide bookkeeping services. Okay, well, who are you going to do that for? Do you have existing expertise in a certain industry that you want to continue serving? Or are you passionate about an industry and want to branch out there? It doesn't really matter what you choose. What matters is that you are specific and tailored to that audience. So bookkeeping for Boston area family restaurants is much more specific than hospitality bookkeeping services. Do you see how that's different? You help them specifically, which in turn allows you to charge a premium price. Okay, so once you've identified who it is you're helping, you need to outline exactly how you help them. So, what solution do you provide? What are the benefits of them working with you? Not the features of your service. That's a huge distinction that's actually worth diving into a little bit further. So, features versus benefits. Here's a really easy way to think about it, and it's the how and the what. So, and what I mean by that is features, guys, are the how, and benefits are the what. So, for example, let's say you're going to buy a new car. Do you really care that it has a 2.4-liter V4 engine turbo with turbo boost and EcoBoost? I totally butchered that, but you get the point. No, you don't care about that. You only care about the fact that it gets 50 miles a gallon and you can go from 0 to 60 in a respectable 5.8 seconds. Do you see the difference? For most consumers, the how, the features, they don't really matter. It's the end result to them, what they get. That's what's meaningful. And your marketing will need to follow the same path. Focus on them, their problem, and the solution you provide. It's not about how you help them. Now, full disclosure, you will find those clients who want to know the how, and you need to be prepared to explain it to them in as much detail as they'd like. But again, for the purposes of outlining your offerings and marketing, the benefits, that's all they need, and that will do just fine. Okay, so pivoting back to identify, as I was saying earlier, you want to think about your one thing that solves the one problem of your client. And again, this isn't to say you can't offer other services or help a client with a new project once you're in there, which you're qualified to help them out on. But for the purposes of getting started, of bringing clients on board, of establishing yourself as an expert in your field, you want to pick one thing. You solve one very big problem with one very perfect solution to one very interested client. Makes sense, right? Okay. So next, the third piece of the puzzle is amplify, which is my way of saying understanding your marketing message. Now, I know if you're not in the land of communications and marketing, this might sound intimidating to you, but I promise it doesn't have to be. Marketing is all about sharing your message in a specific way that speaks to your ideal audience. Now, for your purposes as an up and coming consultant, You want to inform your newly identified ideal client that you have something to offer them that is of utmost importance and value, and you are the best person to help solve that problem. So, how do you do that? Well, first, you want to develop your 7-second sentence. Now, in reality, it's kind of more like a 2-second sentence, but I'm personally obsessed with alliteration, so I just go with it with the 7. But here's how to create yours. You make one sentence that tells who you help, what you help them do, and how you help them do it. So the formula for this is as follows. I help ideal client to fix problem by your solution. So for example, here's my 7-second sentence. I help successful corporate professionals turn their expertise into a consultant business via one-on-one and small group coaching. So now with that sentence, you know exactly what I do, exactly who I help, and exactly how I help them. And because you've already figured out what your zone of genius is, how you help them, and what problem it is that you solve for them, this should be relatively easy exercise for you. Now, you might want to rework it a few times and get it really right and not too obtuse. But this exercise, if nothing else, helps you to truly hone in on what you do, who you do it for, and how you do it. And so, okay, so now that we've got our 7-second sentence, well, now what do we do with it, right? Well, it becomes the foundation of all our marketing. Now, you might be thinking, like, what marketing? I'm just little old me here and I don't know how to do that. And that's okay, and it's to be expected. So I'm going to show you how now the number one easiest way to market yourself while you're working on building this new consulting business. Are you ready? All righty, drum roll, please. Ta-da! It's LinkedIn. I know you might think this is a little too simplistic, but hear me out. You are looking to take your corporate expertise and create a consulting business with it. The people you need to help are on LinkedIn. Now, they might also be on Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat and TikTok and all the other things, but professional people are always on LinkedIn. So we want to make sure our profile is up to snuff with our marketing messaging. Now, first thing you do, make sure you've got a good headshot. If you are in a strapless wedding dress or you cut off your wife's face because you look super good in that pic, get rid of it right now. And if you don't have a professional headshot, don't worry. You can create a really great one for free with the phone camera you have right now. So I, for one, I have an iPhone 8 and the thing takes phenomenal pictures, especially when it's in portrait mode. So just put on a professional outfit, grab your spouse or your kid, and have them take a headshot. Next, we want to look at your headline. Now, most people here, they just have their title, but you, my friend, are a super savvy consultant, and you know that you should be taking your 7-second sentence and making that your headline. I know, right? Super smart and simple. Now, you might be thinking, why is this so important? Well, here's the big thing, right? Your headline follows you everywhere you go on LinkedIn. Anytime you make a comment or create a post or even like something, people can see your name and your headshot and your headline. There is no easier way to send the message of what you do and how you can help than with updating that headline. And if you want some extra brownie points, add some keywords after your headline there, or after your 7-second sentence in your headline. So here's a screenshot of how it looks mine looks at the time of this recording. So you can see I've got my 7-second sentence and then a few keywords that people might be searching for, like business coach. So there are other things you can do on LinkedIn and in your profile that I work with clients on, but for the purposes of this training, this is by far and away the number one most impactful thing you can be doing right now to market yourself and your service on LinkedIn to get in front of your ideal clients. Sound good? All right, so great. Let's take a moment to recap. So thus far, we've learned that in order to keep your corporate expertise, turn your corporate expertise into a 6-figure consulting business, you need to clarify your zone of genius and where you provide the most value, identify who you help and how you help them, and you need to amplify your marketing so you get in front of the right people. Now, these 3 secrets are critical to getting your consulting business off on the right foot. But the last secret is definitely the most important. And you won't hear other coaches talk about this because it kind of goes against conventional wisdom, But again, far and away, this is the most important thing you can do. So the last key, the last secret to the success matrix is to build your business on the side. Meaning, do not quit your full-time job just yet. You want to build this thing while you work full-time so that you don't find yourself at an incredibly uncomfortable situation of having bills to pay and no money with which to pay them. Now, trust me, I am unfortunately speaking from personal experience here. As I mentioned earlier, when I first got into consulting, it was due to necessity. It was not by choice, even though I wanted it to be my choice. It was definitely forced into that. So now in the long run, I'm grateful because it forced me to figure stuff out and I had to figure it out quickly. However, if I'd been able to build it on the side nearly a decade ago when I first looked at consulting, I could have built up my marketing, my offer. I could have really honed in on my clientele and achieved that proof of concept. Meaning I could have had a couple paying clients, created a wait list, and then onboarded those additional clients when I was ready and able to walk away from my full-time job. It's really, truly smarter entrepreneurship because you're taking away one of the biggest question marks every wannabe consultant asks. Where am I going to find clients and can I make enough money? So the approach I teach allows you to find those clients and build up that revenue before you walk away from your safety net. You build confidence and your bank account at the same time that you're building a business. So it's really a win-win-win situation, don't you think? Okay, and that's it. Guys, that's it. The 4 key secrets to turning your corporate expertise into a 6-figure consulting business. Clarify your zone of genius and where you provide the most value. Identify who you help and how you help them. Amplify your marketing so you get in front of the right people, and simplify your business and build it on the side to create revenue before you fully step away. Now, this isn't the be all and end all of my coaching with you. While this is the absolute bedrock of building a successful 6-figure coaching business or consulting business, there are many other tips and tricks and strategies that you can implement to turn your expertise into that consulting business and say goodbye to the 9-to-5 once and for all. And there are a couple ways that I can help you with that. So first and foremost, I have rather, a free Facebook group, Corporate to Consultant. And in there, I offer tips and tricks and trainings on how you can set yourself up for success so that you can ultimately turn your corporate expertise into a consultant business. And again, that's totally free. I'll put the link below this video just to make sure you get it. So you can check that out and get in there right after this training. Second, maybe you're ready to take the leap now and get out of the 9-to-5 as quickly as possible. You've got kind of business ideas churning in your head right now, especially after watching this training, and you want to see if it makes sense for us to work together more closely so you can say goodbye again to the 9-to-5 once and for all. So if that's the case, I'd welcome the opportunity to talk to you and see if we're a good fit to work together. I keep limited availability each week for discovery calls where we really talk about your area of expertise and the business you want to build. However, please know I can't help everyone. So, only really book a call if you fit the following criteria here, which are, you're not happy with your current work situation, you have a successful corporate career, but you're in need of more balance. Perhaps you've dreamed about becoming a consultant in the past, but just didn't know how to make it happen or what to do to make it happen. You're motivated to take the steps necessary to get out of the 9-to-5. And really, most importantly, you're really ready to invest in yourself and make that transition actually happen. And that's from both a monetary perspective and a time perspective, guys. You need to have time outside of the 9-to-5 to dedicate to this and build this thing. So if that sounds like you and you're interested in learning more about how you can say goodbye to the 9-to-5, then you can visit, the link. Here it is again, that's highlighted here. And I will put it again in the notes section of this presentation. This call, guys, is totally free. And at the end of it, if we think it'd be mutually beneficial to work together, you might be offered an opportunity to work with me more closely. But again, I have limited time to do these calls. I do not have a team answering the phones. I do these myself. So only book if you're truly interested and ready and able to make that commitment to yourself and invest in yourself and say goodbye to the 9-to-5. Okay, so that's it, guys. That's the whole training. And I think I did good on time, and I definitely didn't keep you here for an hour. So yay me. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me. Again, make sure you check out our free Facebook community, Corporate to Consultant, And if you're ready, book a call so we can get into the nitty gritty of your consulting business and really strategize around what it would look like for you to say goodbye to the 9 to 5. So again, guys, thank you so much. And I look forward to working with y'all in the future. Cheers. Bye.